And welcome to this Moneycontrol live stream. Earnings season is on in full swing, and we have two companies from the consumption basket that is slated to come out with their earnings tomorrow. So, what are these companies? Well, HUL and Asian Paints are these two companies that are going to report their earnings tomorrow. And to put into perspective what the street is expecting from these numbers, I'm joined in by my colleague Mangalam Maloo, who's going to take us through the expectations from these two companies. Mangalam, let's first talk about the big one, HUL. Yes. The stock has been running up fairly ahead of the earnings.
That's correct.
So what is the street anticipating in terms of revenues as well as margins when it comes to this FMCG giant?
Well, you hit the nail right on the head. You know, it's the revenues and the margins will be extremely crucial to watch out for HUL this time around. And the street is factoring in about a 13.5% sort of revenue growth coming in for the company. You're looking at a number just shy of that 15,000 crore mark on the top line. So 14,860 odd crores is what the poll throws up. The margins now, last quarter, which is the second quarter, they did margins of 22.9%, but last year they did margins of 25%. What are we expecting this time? Quarter on quarter there will be an improvement, but year on year margins will still be under a wee bit of pressure because we're still not out of the woods as far as the raw material inflation is concerned. And secondly, even if raw material inflation calms down, etc., we have companies sitting on high cost inventory. Secondly, even if they are giving away their high cost inventory and selling products at lower prices, that could impact their margins. So quarter on quarter, of course, from 22.9%, we are expecting a 70-80 basis points improvement. So 23.6% is what the street is working with this
Even
time
higher
around.
ad spends will be playing spoil sport when it comes to the margins for these
I'm
companies?
not sure whether you call it spoil sport or not, because this for FMCG companies is an important investment, and that's also important because the demand situation that we're in currently right now, bottom of the pyramid is facing serious inflationary pressure. So low unit packs, volume drivers, etc., not coming there. So what companies are doing is because they have taken these price hikes, etc., now they're reducing the prices, and whatever savings they're making, they're spending it back on advertising to spur demand. Because the one number to watch out for all FMCG companies over the longer period is the rate at which their sales grow and the rate at which their volumes grow.
Right.
We are expecting about 4 to 5% sort of volume growth for HUL this time around, and 8 to 9% price hike. So together that makes the 13.5% top line growth that we're working with.
Sure. Mangalam, the million-dollar question is the recovery in rural demand, and that's been fairly sluggish. So what kind of an impact will it have on HUL's earnings?
So around 35% of their sales come in from rural India, 65% comes in from urban India. Urban demand is fairly steady. The premium end is doing okay. Rural India is where the problem is. So to that extent, it will be extremely crucial this time around to not look at HUL's numbers, but listen to what the management has to say about the rural demand. Because so far, all the updates that we've got, be it Godrej Consumer, Marico, Dabur, all of them have pointed towards some sluggishness in rural demand, but all of them have also said that going forward, rural demand may look better because one, we have some stability in inflation. Secondly, we have government interventions taking place. Kharif realizations have been good, and we are talking 15 days ahead of the budget. So any sort of announcement that comes in from the budget standpoint to spur rural demand, these guys could benefit from there. So what HUL sees in terms of recovery prospects for rural demand will be crucial, not only for HUL but for the economy as a whole.
Sure. Other earnings to watch out for tomorrow will be Asian Paints. What kind of volume growth are you factoring in for Asian Paints?
For Asian Paints, again, we're looking at mid-single digit sort of volume growth, and again 8 to 9% sort of price hike. So that would mean about 11 to 12% overall revenue growth. For Asian Paints, this quarter may be slightly weaker than what everyone usually expects the third quarter to be. That's primarily because, if you remember, now it seems like a different era altogether, but October had very heavy rains. Right? So during rains, it gets a little difficult for people to buy paints and paint their houses and all of that and stuff. And immediately towards the end of October, we had Diwali. Right? So, during the festive season, people usually paint before the festive season or much after the festive season, before the wedding season.
Right.
They don't paint during the festive season, they don't paint during rains. So those factors may impact their overall demand, but that would be delayed demand, not denied demand. So all of that will come in the fourth quarter, the quarter afterwards, etc. and all. So that would mean that 4 to 6% volume growth and price hikes of 8 to 9%. That's about this quarter. For Asian Paints, the more important thing to watch out for is going forward, how do they plan to tackle the big competition that everyone's talking about in the paint space. Grasim has announced a massive
Foray,
capex,
yeah.
and as a result of which, Asian Paints in just the last 2 quarters has announced 9,000 crore worth capex, 7,000 crore in backward, and 2,000 crore in a water-based facility that they are going to put out.
Okay.
So these factors will be more important from a long-term standpoint for Asian Paints than just the quarterly numbers, which may be impacted by a couple of seasonal factors.
Sure. So all in all, we are expecting a fairly decent quarter for both the companies.
Fairly decent quarter for both the
but
companies.
Management commentary for the future
Yes.
outlook will be something that
For both companies, management
yeah.
commentary will be extremely important. And if I have to use, an architectural analogy, then we're at the mezzanine floor right now. It's not the ground floor, which was the previous quarter where there was a fair amount of weakness, raw
Yeah.
material inflation, etc. But it's still not the first floor, because you haven't reached in terms of great consumer sentiment or extremely low raw material environment. So while we're at the mezzanine floor, it's important to listen to the management commentary than just look at the numbers, because numbers won't lead you anywhere.
Sure.
But the
It's
management
outlook
commentary will tell you whether
for
you're
future.
going towards the ground floor or
Yeah.
whether you're going towards the first floor.
Sure, well, that's the word from Mangalam. We will be watching out for those two numbers tomorrow, and we'll be getting you updates as well. But before we wrap up, guys, do tune in to Money Control on Budget Day, because we'll be getting you extensive coverage with some biggest market voices, as well as the brightest minds from India Inc. So you know where to tune in on Budget Day. That's Money Control. And for all your other financial updates and market actions, stay tuned to Money Control.
1st February 2023, the Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman will present the last full union budget before 2024 elections. India's most awaited financial event comes in the midst of global slowdown, inflation, liquidity tightening, geopolitical tensions, and re-emergence of COVID-19. Will India look to fire up its manufacturing? Will India build a moat against global uncertainties? What will the budget have for the middle class? Watch the complete coverage of Budget 2023. Real-time analysis, expert takes all day on Money Control. Log on to www.moneycontrol.com for more.